Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining us in this live event. We just had a very powerful full moon yesterday on the 13th. So we just passed that. Also, before we start with our topic, I want to share some stuff about some promotions about the book that it's been out for a year now. So if you're interested in Hermetic teachings, mysticism, the Kabbalion, all those stuff, then please do check out the teachings of Thoth the Atlantean. For the dawn of the space age, you have all the links in the description. It's for free, basically. So it's a free ebook that you can explore to further deepen your knowledge of the mystic arts. And if you're interested, we also have our Patreon community. And tomorrow we're going to have a channeling session where I'm going to bring through my guides and you can ask them questions directly during the live Zoom meeting, basically. And hello, higher vibrations. Thank you for being with us once more. And to topic for today, I got like a few ideas, which will be basically the awakening process, but mainly being you can be difficult. Like the whole point basically of the awakening process, not just as an individual, but also like on a collective level, is to be your true self, to shed all the lies and all the false personas and all the lower timelines that we were like led to believe that that is who we are, like that is our reality. And we're all going through this process that we're letting the old stuff go and we have to discover like, okay, like who are we, or where did we come from? And we have to like work through all of these. I see it like a minefield or something similar, like all these lies and misleading directions, because like there are like so many pitfalls during the awakening process, which was like the whole system here is like set up to hold you back from evolving further. And also if you have awakened, like that's not a short ticket to out of here, basically. After the maze of illusions, you still have layers upon layers of like misleading stuff that can derail your evolution. And I also want to talk about that as well, like what to stay away from and like how to identify fear-based belief systems as well.
I like that. I'd like to just reiterate something about the Patreon community really quickly, that it's really a useful thing to, it's a tool, like, you know, for so many lifetimes for many of us. We've gone on this journey alone, you know, feeling isolated, alone and separate and unique and even weird, freakish sometimes, you know, and then all of a sudden now we have these options to meet up with others like me, you know, like that don't need the explanation. They already understand you. And it's just really recharging, repowering experience. You know, a lot of people have benefited from it, you know, thus far. So if you are interested, it's really a beautiful thing. We always talk for a while before he does his channeling sessions. So there's always that connect and compare notes experience. So it's just something that,
yeah. And also, like, if you don't want to commit to Patreon, you also have your free Zoom meetings as well, if you want to connect with like-minded people.
We're actually also meeting on Friday, so tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think that's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if anyone is interested in that, that's a community that we hold. We do it 3 times a week, the Zoom meetings. And with the landmine thing, I had something that came up, but I just lost it as I was starting to go. So I guess I will revisit that.
Okay. So like anyone who's interested in the Zoom meetings that High Vibrations has offered, I just refreshed the whole information basis on this video. So you have her link to her channel in the title right now. So if you want to explore that.
Right on. Oh, I recalled it. If you
okay, perfect. Please do.
Yeah, so we have this, it's what it really comes down to is we live in a culture, a world, a culture of our planet of ignoring things that come up that need to be or could be addressed as they come. What I mean by that is things that need to be healed or whatever. And really, it's a very smart mechanism of keeping a person in this lower frequency space is that if you ignore those things, then you leave these pockets behind, these pockets of unaddressed, garbage. You haven't done your laundry, and it just kind of, it's an anchor of sorts. It's I've heard it referred to as karmic anchoring, but there's so much misunderstanding about what karma is that it's that concept. Anyway, and that's a lot of what's happening with many of us right now too, is we're feeling this influx of information, whether it be a very microscopic brief instance of an image of perhaps a traumatic event, those things just popping and going. It's some people are just feeling it in emotions. All of a sudden they feel like incredible irritation or even rage just for a moment. It's like a burst. Also a really severe physical pain for some people. These are these pockets that have been left behind by others that have long gone from here. And we are here to help address and actually just look at those pockets of things, observe them. And once they are seen and no longer ignored, they can go. And that's what our job is. And up until now, a lot of us haven't been doing our own stuff. Our own pockets still need to be healed. When we address an issue, it's not always resolved in that moment. There's often, I've never seen it where it's not the case, layers of it. You heal through something and then you feel better, and then you kind of move on and fill it with light. And then you start to see it surface again. It's like, well, I already dealt with that. That's just another part of the echo of it. There's many layers. And so don't feel discouraged as you get to that point. It's not that you haven't done the work well enough. It's that you did the work for that moment. Now you have another one in front of you.
Like also in my experience, in the beginning, I kind of worked through, like, as you say, saying, like big chunks that were like very obviously holding back you from being yourself and being a more happy and fulfilled person. And in the beginning, they are like pretty obvious, like, for example, like different types of traumas that you were having, or I know, like issues that you have accumulated during this lifetime. So they come up very strongly in the beginning. And after a while, like they become more subtle and like almost unnoticeable. And after a time, you're like discovering like layers of programming and belief systems that you couldn't even like imagine in the beginning that you had. Like these like little very thin, almost unnoticeable belief systems that were like ingrained into your system to hold you back from further be able to evolve, basically. But yeah, like everything in its own time, like you don't have to hurry with it or anything or force it. But the more intent and energy you put into actually like working on yourself and like pushing through the minefields, basically, the quicker it can go. But also you kind of have to learn this balance to, okay, like I need to rest now and like leave everything as it is, and I just have to recharge, because we all have limits and you should definitely learn to respect them, because you'll get burned out pretty quickly. It's an intense ride, basically.
Exactly. And we're meant to fill light back in when we leave these pockets, and that light is delivered in a more efficient and, I don't know, easier way when we let ourselves, we are taking care of our physical form as well as in the emotional context. So like, and while you're taking care of yourself, you're raising your vibration. And while raising your vibration, thinking that you're just doing your own thing, maybe you live in the woods all by yourself and don't talk to people, that would be awesome. But congratulations to you.
Yeah, but that's like the easiest way to know yourself more easily, how to learn what are your energies feeling like, or who are you basically as an individual alone, because like we accumulate so much stuff from other people. Right. So as you have said, I think like it was last week, if you have the opportunity to go someplace outside in the wilderness where there are no people and just be by yourself and start to learn, what does it feel like to be you? Like, what does it feel like your own energies without any of the interference coming from your surroundings? It's like a huge, I think it's a very practical thing that you can do in the beginning too. And also, like, it's great for purging and letting go old stuff, basically.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you can do it barefoot. You're that natural process of us ionizing and picking up the minerals as we do it. Like ionizing is the process, and I'm not going to quote it correctly, but how I see it, because it's like an energy thing and there's like different colors based on what it is. We carry static basically, right? We walk around, we do our things, we ingest, we breathe, whatever. There's some kind of toxin or something that a toxin is something that doesn't serve you. That's it. So whether it's meant to be bad for you or not, that's just a toxin. And those things collect until we can purge them out somehow. And the soles of our feet have the largest pores in our body for that very purpose, to send out all of this stuff into the soil while we walk the earth. We just have everything covered in concrete and everybody wears shoes these days. So it's not done as natural. So we have to do it with more intention. So if you can, stand barefoot at the very least, even if it's in a park. But like Guardian said, being in that space, you find out you're not an irritated person. You're not an angry person. You're not, to find how peaceful and joyful and centered and happy of a person you really are is shocking in some cases, and like, but then you can leave there knowing what your energetic fingerprint is. So then, when things come through, that you don't have to investigate it. You don't have to, why am I feeling it? You're not. You're feeling through it. It's different. You're feeling someone else. And, like to finish that statement, I want to, before I forget, is that as we take care of ourselves by going into nature, by getting the rest that you need, by drinking the water, that whatever it is that you need to do, when you're doing that, you're raising your frequency, and that is helping everyone else. Like we've also been brought up in a brainwashing belief system of, if you're taking care of yourself, you're being selfish, you're lazy, you're unproductive, all of those things that prevent you from taking care of yourself. That's not true. That's all a bunch of lies, so like, take care of yourself. If your body's asking you for more rest, if you can pull it off, do it. And, the other point that I need to make is that God is the most beautiful, purest love. And I mean, it's amazing. The opposite of that is fear. Around the place of fear is also shame and guilt and that kind of stuff. And though when we go to those emotions, it doesn't prevent us in our evolution, in our ascension experience. It does, however, make it more rocky, because it is a tug of war a bit. Because over here is the other extreme. That fear paradigm is the opposite. And so you're being pulled away from a vibration. That's why it feels like rocky emotionally, is because it's like you're on like choppy water. It feels unsettling because you can't exist in both paradigms. And so the more that we can put love there, the easier this will be. So,
and the more you do it, the easier it becomes to navigate those two polarities, basically.
Yes.
And also, Jacaranda Marie has asked, any tips on quieting the mind so you can take advantage of the alone time?
Did you have anything to say? I don't want to interrupt you, but I have some comments.
Okay, please do. Then I will say maybe something after that too.
For me, I usually, if it's bad and if I'm finding that it's just a lot and I struggle to like maneuver around it, I always go to high frequency music. Like I have a playlist on my channel of that. Guardian said there's a link to my channel if you are interested. It's called High Frequency Music, and you can really search it in YouTube or any other means. But there's just turning on that harmony for a moment, and while I'm paying attention to that frequency, and it quiets the noise enough that I can manage the things, and then I can start utilizing the other tools that I've learned along the way. That, for instance, as these thoughts come through, I don't need to engage in the thoughts. And like, I always understood that the first like second or two of a thought wasn't mine. It's just what I did after that. Was I going to grab that thought and like start obsessing with it, and playing with it? And the best visual representation of that I've seen that has been given to me, it's it's like someone said, the best example would be Tokyo for what I was trying to describe. This really busy pedestrian space of everyone walking, like lots and lots and lots of people, like my worst nightmare, honestly. But like but being in that space and allowing each of those pedestrians to walk by versus grabbing onto one of them, knowing that each thought that comes through is not really yours, not really. It's information that's passing through. Am I going to trip the person that's walking by and make them engage with me? Or am I going to let them pass? You know, and so as I let these pedestrians pass, after a short time, very short time of doing this, it becomes automatic. I don't have to do it with intention because I've already gotten this momentum or something going. And that's when I can finally quiet enough to go into that 0 point. That was a lot of explanation to say. Most often, it happens so quickly. Once you practice for as long as I have, and as long as a lot of you have, you know, it's easier to get there. But those are if it's really loud, it's really a lot going through me, high frequency music, and listen to it. Don't just play it in the background and still obsess. That doesn't help.
Like shifting your attention and like shifting it into the music, or maybe if you have the opportunity to be outside in nature, then observe nature, like listen to it. It's like super refreshing to actually, like most of the times we're like programmed in a way to like constantly distract ourselves with stuff like electronics and busy thoughts and all that, and just sit down and just try to observe your surroundings, like especially nature, like listen to it, like see little stuff in it, and it's just, I know, like it switches your mind off completely.
Right.
That's what I try to do usually. Or if I can lay down, then I would try to like to not really engage with any of my thoughts and just let go of anything, and I usually fall asleep in that state.
Yeah.
And it's very refreshing too, basically.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with naps. In fact, if it's possible for you, I really highly suggest it. I think it's funny that I say that. There's a bit of a tinge of embarrassment from my own baggage of like, you know, like that's, you know, old people do that. You know what I mean? But I mean, a lot of us are finding the need to, even if it's like a 5 minute, just almost not really napping, but just in that I'm almost asleep space. We need that right now, you know, and which leads into this important point. This is the coolest thing. We got all this stuff coming through, you know, and the reason that we are being presented with so much ability, so many things for us to heal right now, is that we are on the most fertile ground for that to happen. We have so many beautiful energies come. Yeah, uncomfortable energies, I'll admit, but like, so from every direction. Guardy and I were talking about that before we came on, which is why we're late. It's my fault. I was talking, but we have like this alignment has been occurring since the beginning of the month, and the energies are coming back into, and the Syrian the Syrian gateway energy it's not quite lined up with the sun as it was before. However, it still is amplifying the energy of the sun. And remember, the Syrian gateway makes our sun send us energy in an amplification of times 10 at the very least, right? Okay, we already are getting amplification of our sun. And now we are having this massive solar flare that's coming through, so intense that that NASA got on and like did this like before anything happens, like cover up thing about the fact that these energies are going to increase. The Schumann resonance has been spiking off the charts and going offline. We are in the space of the Buck moon, which is the biggest super moon we're going to have for the calendar year. Also, at the same time, we're already feeling the Lionsgate energy, you know, and that is a place of purging. That's like a dark night of the soul on steroids experience, where the whole planet gets to look at things that aren't serving them so they can be released. That's my tangent. We're there though, and this is good stuff. It's making us feel uncomfortable, but it's making us putting us in a space where it's so much easier to heal these things if you choose to.
Exactly. And it also like ties into what Nora has asked. Like, can you please share your experience with confusing feelings at this time? And I also like got the memo to talk about, like I want to talk about like what to avoid and like how to navigate these times basically. As we were like talking about it previously, like you had your awakening experience, that is awesome. You discovered that many things that you have believed about yourself and the world was like a lie or a distraction basically. But there are like layer upon layers of these like fences and like misleading belief systems that are designed to keep you in a lower vibrational state. And that's kind of where the confusion can come in as well. Like also regarding all the information that is like coming out right now, the best thing is to be as discerning as possibly you can, because just because like something is alternative source basically doesn't mean that it's true necessarily. Like there is always like a lot of disinformation and misinformation on all levels basically, and that is where you come in basically, your discernment, to learn how to navigate that confusing and distracting timelines basically, because like like they are all there to distract you from what is really happening. Some of them can be absolutely true, like I don't say like everything is distraction in the alternative news sources either, but like you have to navigate that. You have to learn how to navigate it. And sometimes like the stuff that you listen to or see can be very, I know, like disheartening or scary maybe in some cases. And if it's like you feel that it's like super fear-based and it's like sensationalizing for you to be in fear, then like disengage, because like what is happening is absolutely like superb basically. And there are like all these like news outlets and like sources that are trying to keep you in a lower vibrational state. Like, okay, like as you have seen, like there is a lot of stuff that we have to work out. Like there is a lot of darkness in this world that we have already been working on. Like that's why we are here right now, because we have worked our asses off in the previous decades.
Yeah.
We have done a lot of work on that front, but still like now it's coming out in the public, and even us are going to be exposed to a lot more stuff that we kind of just guessed about so far or just heard rumors. And now like many things are being confirmed, like, oh, like we just suspected that for 20 years, but now it turns out it's true.
Right.
Those stuff. And yeah, like whenever I think many of us are like junkies of like to learn as much as we can about like who's who, like what is happening, like what happened where. And yeah, like sometimes you have to like take a break from that and just focus on yourself and not be like distracted by all that flood of information, because like there's so many things happening on the world right now. And if you're not in a balanced and good place, if you're like tired, if you're, I know, like you're angry or you're sick, also physically, then like that's not a good place to dive into these stuff basically, because it can like drag you down in a negative place, or it can drag down your energy. So whenever you feel that, okay, like I had enough of that, like it's no longer beneficial for my growth to expose myself to that type of information, then just kind of like choose to, okay, like I'm going to stop now and I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to expose myself to high vibrational music or something, and just let it be for, I know, like however long it feels okay. And if something comes up or I get the inspiration to look up something, then maybe I will do it. But you kind of have to learn to keep this balance between like learning stuff and just taking a break from all of it and just move on basically with your own growth. And basically like we're here to focus on ourselves and to learn and to like let go of all the crap that we have accumulated during this life and other lifetimes too. And basically that's kind of our work. And yeah, like I think like some of us are absolutely those truth seekers and like truth, I think they call them truth warriors or something. But yeah, like that's also very important. But you have to be like in a balanced and centered state to like fully be able to embody that energy, in my opinion.
Yeah. And you had a really good point that, it's what I did was I just turned everything off for a while. Like I was just like, I'm just done, and I didn't, there was a handful of things that kind of led me to that point. But, and then, then I'll go, like after a while, I decided to, check in. And what I do for it, the reason for me looking at these things is simply to see where we're at. I'm looking for landmarks. You know what I mean? Like you're in an airplane or something, you're like, okay, where have we made it to? And that's the only time that I go in. And just like many of you, we already know what needs to be exposed. It's just we're waiting for it to come out, and so however, after taking a long enough break in a series of those as well, it's easier to discern and kind of fill in the gaps and not be emotionally invested in who's saying it or how it's being said or the fact that it's being misleading. I actually enjoy those in some occasions because I have practiced this enough that it's automatic. The information of filling in the dots just comes to me. Like, I don't know if I'm doing it or it's coming from, but it's just happening. And however, if I linger in that vibration too long, then I do feel it pulling me down. All of a sudden, everything feels heavier, it's denser, like I feel uncomfortable. And any kind of sensationalization. Like there are a handful of spiritual people that I had followed for quite some time on YouTube. Like I never missed them. And they started to get into like, hurry up and warning and oh no, and like to just get someone to click on their video that's supposedly a channeling session. It's like, come on, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to click if something like that is on the heading. And to answer the question in the best way I know how about the emotion stuff, we're having a lot of stuff that's coming through that's not ours, and it's hard. Like, in fact, just a few moments before this started, I got off the phone with somebody else who we were commiserating the same experience, is that we're having these massive, big, exaggerated emotions just coming in, and like a lot of it feels mournful for some of us. And these bouts of like joyful cries, tears that you just can't stop. But then also like feeling mournful and sad and like just why, but like, and these aren't ours. This isn't our real, we're not feeling ourselves. We're feeling through something as a service to those around us and those who had been here before. What we're connecting to is also, we've been seeing it for a while. The planet's been separating. Two physical separated orbs now. And though we still have like mutual experiences on both places, we're touching the other one that we're not really on. It's starting to separate more. And I think that's part of what that mournful experience is that we're in that place. We're driving away from the dilapidated house that almost killed us a million times. And we look in the rearview mirror. You're still going to miss that old dilapidated house. You're still going to miss whatever, because you spent so much time there. There's a mournful experience, but and it needs to be felt. That's the most important advice I can give, is that as it comes through, allow yourself to feel it. Don't force it to be there. Don't create an emotion more than just let it go through so it can go. That's why we're here. We're letting this energy move through. Some people call it darkness. Some people call it density. Some people call it sadness. Whatever it is, it's this stuff. And we are basically these straws that are all over the planet and pulling this energy out through us and out. And like, as it goes through us, it is witnessed by us. It's not meant to cause you any harm. So if it's too much for you, you can ask for it to calm down as well. Like ask the archangels. Archangel Michael is a standard go-to, like, hey dude, you're a big giant guy and I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now. Can you help me out? Like, and he will come in and he'll dig in and lighten it up for you. Like I had that happen a couple of days ago. It was the coolest experience. like literally I felt his wings wrap around me. Like it was so cool, and it lightened the experience. All of a sudden I was like, hey, let's go play, and but it just also high frequency music, again, it'll change the experience that you're in. That music brings the vibration up several notches. I will always listen to the vibration music before I get on Zoom calls or meet on with Guardian. To get me into that place. And so there's a lot of tools, but those are the main ones I go to for that.
And like we also wanted to talk about like being your true self can be difficult, especially on your family.
Right.
This newly discovered you that is like not compatible with the old patterns is like it's kind of difficult to find your new place, like especially around your family, because like you have history going back also with friends. I think like with friends it's maybe a bit more easier because like they can come and go. The people who are in residence with you come in, and people with whom you don't click anymore, they just kind of phase out of your existence somehow. But with family it's kind of a bit more different. And also Jean had a good question: how do we let go of all that does not serve us any longer? Let's say it's a toxic extended family member. I already forgave her and getting better at not being triggered. Thank you. Yeah, like I think like all of us have that in our family dynamics. Like going back for, I know, God knows how many decades or generations, like you have that person that like knows how to trigger you and how to push your buttons basically. But like it's awesome that you're working on it and she's not triggering you anymore, or at least not to that extent as it was back then. So I think like that's kind of what we can do, is like work on it. Like we can't change that person, like if it's your mother or I know like your spouse or whatever, like you can't change them. Like that's their journey. Like all that you can do is basically reprogram yourself. Like how do you relate and react to those situations basically?
Right.
And as you're like gradually like reprogramming yourself, like they're still going to keep doing it. Like they don't know that you're working on yourself, or they don't care, and they will keep doing their stuff. But the difference will be that you won't react to it the same way basically. So it will still happen, it just won't have like a dramatic effect on your life. You will just observe it and say like, oh, okay, like I'm not going to engage with that anymore.
Right. And we do have this shedding experience that does occur in families that I'm not suggesting or anything like that, but we do find that as we grow and get older, we don't have to be in our family circles anymore, that we find we slowly separate in some instances. I come from a very large family, and I really only talk to a couple of my siblings. It's not because there's like baggage there anymore, just like there was a forgiveness that experienced that occurred there. And I found that forgiveness of others didn't find its full completion until I forgave self, and working on the self-forgiveness and finding that space changed what the frequency of love that comes through is. Now it's just so much more profound and powerful. So if that's something that you might want to look at, anyone, the looking at that self-forgiveness for any instance, and the thing is as we heal through these things, just like Guardian said in a way that we find, if we go back into those situations, I think what it is that the person is desperate to make you be back to that same person that you were before, or that you presented to them before. And you're healing yourself. You're moving through those energetic spaces that were not in alignment with you. And so it's disrupting to the other family member for you to come in different, but what helped me was absolutely 100% realizing that all of us that are here and awake right now, we're all aliens pretending to be humans. We are, like, whether you're and from the angelic realm or all the different places, all of us are pretending to be human, basically. And so as we come in this experience, we're thrown in with a bunch of, they almost seem like, how are they even breathing? Who ties their shoes? You know, kind of people. It's just that they're not experienced like you are. You know, they haven't been to those higher frequency spaces in such a recent way. We have ascended multiple worlds together. We are like these veterans of energy, and we come in to this place where these other individuals, they're beautiful. It's just that they are where they're supposed to be at in their soul's evolution. We're here to help them rise up a bit, whether we're doing that by pulling or with energy, or by example, or simply by raising up the planet that they're on. And then they can make that choice, you know. And so, but we are where it's like hanging out with a bunch of kindergartners when you're spending time with people who aren't ready for this information. And you know, keep doing what feels right to you. You're whatever your gut's telling you to do is correct, you know. And in some cases that is separation, some cases it's not, you know. And the most important thing to take away from that, from my experience, was I being depleted by interacting, you know, because we don't want to deplete ourselves. We can't help anybody else or ourselves if we're giving our energy away uselessly. Like pearls before swine, I guess, as an example.
Yeah, like I like to say that I am in this world, but I'm not of this world.
You're right. Excuse me.
Yeah, like that's an awesome perspective, and yeah, like treated as such, like that's something very awesome, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like this is like a very low vibrational realm, and you have this super different perspective to it. But yeah, like it's kind of difficult to like integrate and like live in a society that's kind of trying to do the opposite of what you know to be true and who you are, basically. And yeah, I was talking, I'm not sure, I'm not going to mention his name. We were discussing through email similar stuff, that many sensitive people are like very disenfranchised and can't really find their place in society, and that it's like very difficult for us to be here. And I think like what I have experienced in the past few years since I started my YouTube channel, that like a great remedy for not feeling as isolated is to actually make an effort to reach out to other people. And now you have the internet, like you can connect with anyone basically. So even us right now are connecting to each other. Like maybe we can never meet physically in this lifetime, but we can connect, I know, even if through text or like call someone or whatever, or just listening to someone else's experiences can be super helpful. And just to always like remind yourself that like we're not alone. And if you want to, you can connect with other people. Like there are like so many communities online that you can find. And yeah, like they're free. You can also find like-minded people here on YouTube or other platforms too. And basically it's, in my opinion, in my opinion, it's all on you. Like you have to make an effort to actually connect with people and to, in a way, like open up and like acknowledge who you are in front of others. But maybe if you're in the very beginning of your journey, then you shouldn't do it with anyone. Like you kind of have to develop the sensitivity, like, okay, like how much can I tell this person about things? And like I think like majority of us, like we're surrounded with people with whom you can't really share this type of information, but you can go online, you have a PC, you have a laptop or phone or whatever, and like find like-minded people and like make an effort to connect with them, even if like it's something very small. Just acknowledging that, okay, like they exist and they know that I exist now because we have chatted or something, and you know that you're not alone. And yeah, like it's all on you. Like you can connect with like-minded people now.
Oh yeah.
We're not as isolated as 20 years ago, or God knows 100 years ago.
Yeah. And you know, it's easy, but the vast majority of us have, it just said that we're streaming on YouTube. Did we just start back up again? I don't know. it changed.
I hope it's still streaming. I need to check it out.
It says it's now streaming, so we might have had a break. I hope not. But anyway, so now it's easier to do. But what's interesting is, yeah, we break for a second. Sorry, guys, we're back. Hi. That a lot of us almost all of us are introverts. That's just who we are. It's just a slight characteristic of not everybody, but the vast majority of us. So we're people who don't naturally connect with other humans, with other beings or in our vicinity, and then we're made to have to create this effort. And it's not much effort though, if in contrast, it's just trust that these communities are here for the same reasons that you are, for Guardian's Patreon, for these live events. This is how these live events are how all of us connected, how all this stuff in my experience really started, that we were chatting in the chat box during live events. And then we exchanged emails and we started doing Zoom meetings and connecting and finding what a useful, amazing tool that connection became. Like when before I felt like I was wandering in the dark, wondering, thinking that I was crazy. All of a sudden, all these people are having identical experiences at the same moment in time as well. It's like validation. Oh my goodness. Everyone else is going through the same thing as I am, and also they're the people who there's like basically a prescription for awakening too. There are a certain series of events that occurs in a window of time, maybe not in the same order for everyone, but as people are waking up, connecting to other people who are awake as well, they can say, yeah, I went through that. And this is what happened. Or this is what I did to make it easier, and then before you know it, I'm acting like an extrovert. Like I have the hardest time with not interrupting everybody, and I'm not a talker. And we get to have this connection. So you're not the only introvert. You're not the only person struggling to connect, but know that when we do, it's magic. Something activates in all of us and it's long lasting afterward. Like I feel charged to 144% for the rest of the day. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I also think for many of us, it's difficult to connect with people on our superficial level since we're spiritual beings or stuff. I never connected or never understood idle chatter, when you're just talking about nothing for hours, just superficial stuff that lead nowhere, and just it's very tiring. Yeah. I think you had it also in Buddhism that if you're doing this empty chatter, you're just wasting your energy and the energies of others, so don't do it.
Yeah.
I never connected with that. So most of the time when we're in group meetings, I'm the silent one, especially with most people you can't really talk about anything. That's kind of my experience. You can't really have a conversation with most people because they don't want to go to anything substantial. They just want to discuss very superficial stuff, and I just don't relate to I don't like to engage in conversations that don't lead anywhere or have no point. Just connecting for the sake of connecting. So yeah, I kind of learned to do it in a minimal level to make people feel comfortable around to show that, hey, I'm a human being too. But
yeah.
I kind of learned to navigate it, but still I don't like to engage with those types of stuff.
It's hard.
Yeah, there's no point to it basically. It's just spending your time and energy for not much, really, in my opinion.
Right. And there's the cultural element that I don't know if any of the places, I know America does this, where there's this thing that we do that humans do to each other. They say, hi, how are you? And you're supposed to say back, good, how are you? Even if you're miserable, you're supposed to lie. And I fail at that all the time. I try to do it. I try to because all you're saying is hi. That's how we say hi to each other, but if someone says, hi, how are you? And I'll say, good, the planetary alignment, blah, blah, that's my answer. And they're like, no, I'm still walking. I'm just saying. And I don't really know how to do that.
Yeah, like, hey,
Or
like,
the
have you
stranger
seen all?
tell you
Yeah, like, have you
inside.
seen all the chemtrails?
Yeah, yeah. Though a lot
Yeah,
of people are starting to come to me and ask questions. That's been funny because I've always been that person. When it comes to those types of things, people just change the subject or wander away. They're asking questions now. Like people are like, "Are we having solar flares or something?" Like the old lady next door, "Are we having solar flares or something? I'm starting to have some dizziness again." And it's like, it's so fun to hear people want to talk about normal stuff. It's cool.
yeah. Like, I also noticed that many people around me are starting to like share stuff with conspiracy theories things. I was like, what? Like you're into those stuff too? Like I didn't know.
Yeah,
Like especially like people that I would never have imagined they will
right.
like share stuff like that. And some of them like bring it up like very like I mean, we wouldn't say like they're scared of like sharing it, but we're like, well, they're kind of hesitant to like say stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like I've known that for 10 years now or something.
They're probably like, "Whoa, really?" That's
Yeah,
funny.
like, and you can like capitalize on that and like share more stuff that can like further expand what they kind of already know. So they can also feel like comfortable in that situation that,
Yeah.
okay, like other people know about this stuff too. And I think like many people are starting to share their little dirty secrets of researching stuff
Yeah.
more openly. I kind of started to do it more openly the past 2 years, like just very bluntly just saying or sharing stuff that maybe people didn't want to like expose themselves to. Hey, like, by the know, did you hear what people said or what they expose them? I don't know where or stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, I think I kind of like started to like spread, or people started to feel more comfortable knowing that, hey, like other people are know about this stuff too. Like I'm not as isolated as I thought I was, because yeah, like the media is doing its best to make you think that you're crazy if you're not into the main narrative, basically, or what they're trying to sell you each day. That means that something's wrong with you, and you shouldn't talk to other people because they're going to like look angry at you because like you're not normal for thinking differently than everyone
Right.
else.
In fact, fun fact is, and I can't remember, but there was they declassified documents every year, right? If after 40 or 70 years, whatever it is, they declassified a document from 1946 that said that just described the term conspiracy theorist, and they were sending it out to like the local media and stuff. This is back when they didn't have television, as far as I know. I think it was just radio and theaters, but they were initiating the use of this word as a slander, and also described the need to ostracize and like outcast anyone who was a whistleblower. They were disarming the whistleblower. It's a document in they talked about it in 1946. And so I mean it's not that long ago that they like tried to unseat anyone who was telling the truth. Is really what was happening. Yes, there's been this, they did a really good job, because whenever you hear the term conspiracy theorist, usually you think of like an old lady like with 9 cats climbing on her robe as she's walking the streets with grocery bags on her feet or something, and like that's not, but it's the person who they're just simply were trying to unseat the truth, and what better way to do it. And so the conspiracy theorist is a conspiracy theory in itself. Isn't that
Yeah.
fascinating?
And I think like it was like 6 years ago, like they took it a step further. And I think it was in the EU or where they've announced like people who are going to like share these types of information or talking about these things, they are considered to be non-violent extremists or something similar.
Yeah,
Very fancy name
right,
for people who are just trying to like figure out what the hell is happening.
right, right. And we can't help ourselves when we first start to understand this stuff. We just want to shout it from the rooftops. We want to tell everybody. Like, if I had one of those megaphones, I'd seriously be driving around. Like, I probably would have. I don't know. But like, we just want to share this information with everyone because it's such a liberating experience. It at first it's unsettling that when you realize how many different organizations have kind of been working against a harmonious experience. It's kind of hard to process that information, but once you get through that, it's something that it's like, everyone open your eyes, and you want everyone to open their eyes, but you can't make anyone do it, and like, if a person is ready, there's nothing that you can say to them that will dissuade them. However, if they're not, there's nothing that you can say that is right, like, and so if they're drawn to you, talk away, you know what I mean? But it's hard to live in our authenticity and to stand in our truth, because for so many, many, many lifetimes and experiences, we have not had that luxury without severe consequence. Many, of us recall instances of being put to death for it in different incarnations. And so we have like this hang up or this baggage associated with telling the truth and standing in our truth and being authentic, and so that's really why that's been the theme of this generation, being authentic. However, it's producing itself in the physical world. It's doing it there too, because such as below, as above, so below. I always get that wrong but that same thing is happening on all vibrations, all echoes, all layers. And so just remember that's what we're working on, and that you're safe now. It's okay to talk to us. So join our groups, Guardians Patreon, or my Zoom meetings, or talking to each other on these. Exchange emails. You can exchange emails in the chat and live, but you can't do it if you're commenting on someone's YouTube page. It doesn't work.
Really?
It'll just, I tried a handful of times on these live. I wanted to like connect with some people, and I couldn't put a link from my channel or my email address. It just kept deleting it for me. So but you can do it in the lives, and that's how we exchanged addresses or email addresses before. In the beginning was that we put our email addresses in here, and then you can also retract it after a person says they got it. You can remove your comment, so it won't be kept up there if you want to keep it private. So connect with each other is what I'm saying. It's so powerful and helpful right now.
Yeah, I think that's the best remedy for feeling alone and isolated, is to reach out to other people. Okay, and Jocelyn, I think, oh my God, I lost the comment. Okay, so she had a question. Hello, Jocelyn. Anyone has any ideas how to become more relaxed during meditation? Also, anyone experiencing eye twitching this week? Okay, also not eye twitching, but my left, is this the thumb? Yes, this is the thumb. Yeah. It was like, this muscle was like constantly contracting, and it was very annoying, especially during meditation, that one of my hands was like twitching like this all the time.
It was just right here.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. It was very like odd, like but it was just yesterday, and today it's gone for some reason. I think it just comes and goes, like something is being like activated or like rewired in your system, and this is how your nervous system reacts to that electric charges. As far as I understand, like also nervous system works like in an electrical basis, like like impulses are being sent through the system, and that's how it functions. And I guess like we're being rewritten, or we are recalibrating stuff in our system.
Exactly. We are upgrading into using our dormant DNA. They used to call it junk DNA. 90 to 95% of our DNA was considered garbage. Like the creator of this vessel put all their trash in there, right? Anyway, so now they're realizing that it's actually dormant DNA, and that DNA is being turned on right now. A lot of children are being born with it already activated. Science is finally reporting about it. So, it's been happening for a while, obviously. But as that's happening, we're creating new neural pathways. Neural pathways are like the little, it's the light charges that you see, like when you go into meditation and you go into your mind and you can see like, it's called a synapses, where you see like an electric charge jumping over different parts in your brain. And those are we're getting more of those. It's creating something. We're also shaking stuff out. So like when we're having these muscular spasms and even really severe Charlie horses, that's the places where there's an energetic blockage. That doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. That's just addressing the blockage. And so we're getting like the shaking out thing that's happening, and like, what was the first part of her question? I'm sorry, I got
yeah, like how can you relax more during meditation?
Yeah, the laying down was an example. Like I always thought you weren't supposed to lay down during meditation, and you can. It's more effective if you lay where there isn't a pillow. If you do use any kind of pillow, just a really small one that just fits in the between your lifts up your neck, but not so much your head. And to have your knees bent halfway, basically, that you're doing that in order to align all your chakras and make them straight. You're just keeping that in mind, however you can do that. If we lay with our legs flat down or straight down, we don't. The last two chakras are just kind of curved. So that helps if you have your knees bent. And that, it's okay if you fall asleep too. Like that's been some of the coolest, awesome experiences I've had, is going into a deep meditation and then waking up an hour later on a different place. And you're like, I just had a whole lifetime someplace, you know what I mean? So another way that I find really relaxing, and if you can do it where it's safe, you have the right flotation kind of things, a bathtub or even in the water, like just as long as there's the cool flotation things you can do to make yourself safe in that situation. But it's just, a lot of people have a hard time sitting up straight. I know especially right now, most people are struggling with back related stuff. I think that's also the energy that's moving through us. And I started having that problem, and I tuned into it. And the answer was that I had some betrayal stuff from past life experiences that I needed to address. Once I did, my back's better. Because stabbing in the back, it's interesting, all these things. I feel so sick to my stomach when I'm like, you're going to do something wrong. That's that we have all these different places, being a pain in the neck. If someone's annoying, you're noticing you have a lot of neck pain. Anyway, so that's something else too, just to be aware of, that perhaps there's also betrayal stuff that needs to be addressed from experiences before, if you have back pain.
Yeah, like for me also, I shifted from time to time in laying down, basically. That's how I meditated for some reason. And I usually, I found it like traveling or like remembering stuff or going different places is more practical if I'm on a mattress or something. And I can like completely like let go of my bodily sensations, and I could just focus more on what I want to experience or where I want to travel, basically. Because like when you're sitting, you kind of have to be also present, so you don't fall down from the chair.
Right. Yeah.
so you kind of have to like be, like grounded or focusing on your body too. But you can like completely let go if you're like laying down on the ground. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
so
best the best is under a shaded tree. If you can lay on the grass, like that would be like that. I've had some pretty amazing phenomenal experience when in that, just if that's a possibility for you.
Yeah, I never tried it. We have ants around here, so that can be
okay.
very distracting.
Yeah.
Okay, so in closing, do you want to share anything?
Just know that this stuff that we're going through is temporary, like, and the more that we address stuff, and addressing something doesn't mean that you're dissecting it, figuring out how it applies to your life. Is simply seeing it, that it existed, and without judgment and deciding anything about it, just release it with love. That's all it needs. It doesn't need a label or a name or a definition or a place that it belongs. Just that you existed. Thank you for your service. Now you can go and send it with love. That's all you need to do.
Indeed. And what I wanted to share in closing is now is a great opportunity to connect with also others. So you have the link to High Vibrations channel in the title of this video, and you're going to have your next event at which time?
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll put up a link in my community section in a few moments, and that'll lead you to that Zoom meeting. It's free and it lasts about 2 hours. And we don't error record it, so it's private for everybody that's just present.
Yeah, it's an awesome way to connect and try it out. It's all on you, basically. You can connect with like-minded people whenever you want.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, High Vibrations, for being here. Lots of love to you, and hope to see you tomorrow.